Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Coffee with Wes for Tuesday, August the 19th, 2025. This is probably take 3 or 4, okay? So I went through this whole thing and I couldn't hear any sound. So I don't know if I had any sound or not. But anyway, so I'm doing it. I deleted it and I'm doing it again. Anyway, can't remember how I started. I know I said hello and welcome, and I'm glad to be on here today. I'm glad that you have tuned in. It's been warm here in Southern Illinois, in Carterville especially, and I like sitting outside in the morning and also in the evening. I really like sitting outside in the evening because it gets cooler, and then as it gets dark, and then it's dark. The twilight of the day. It's really relaxing for me. I was doing that last night and was enjoying it, except for the mosquitoes. Didn't like that, and except it was really hot. There was no breeze, so I didn't like either of that. I have hummingbird feeders. If you look around here, right there, hummingbird feeders, and I try to keep those full, ready to go. And last night, I had like 3 hummingbirds all here at the same time, but they didn't get any of the hummingbird food because they were busy fighting each other off, and you could just hear the noise of their wings, and so it was quite a sight. But anyway, I digress. I'm going to tell you a story. So a group of men were at the gym, and a cell phone rings, and one of the men picks it up and he answers it, and he says, "Hello? Hun, is that you? I can hardly hear you." "Yeah, it's me. I'm at the mall and I found this mink coat and I was wondering if I could buy it." "Well, how much is it?" "Well, it's about $5,000. "Well, okay. And I'll tell you what, you also buy a matching purse that goes with it." And she said, "Okay." And then she goes on to say, she said, "Well, I stopped by the car dealership today and I saw a brand new BMW and it's on sale and it's the last one." "Well, how much is it?" "Well, it's only $70,000. "Well, fine, go ahead and buy it, but I tell you what, get it with all the accessories. I don't care how much it costs. If we're going to spend that much money, I want the full deal." Well, the woman began to realize that all of her requests were easily approved, and so she decides to take a risk. She steps it up a bit, and she says, "Honey, remember that I told you that my mother wants to come live with us? Is it okay if I invite her over for a month just to try it out, and after a month we can talk about it again?" "Sure, that's fine. That'll be great. Anything else?" "No, that's all." "Okay, love you. Bye." Well, as soon as he hangs up the phone, the man turns around and he looks at the group and he asks the question. He says, "Does anyone know whose cell phone this is?" Let's drink another sip of coffee. So today's big idea is that God's grace enables joyful generosity even in times of hardship. And I want to read to you from 2 Corinthians chapter 8, verse 2, and pick up from yesterday. And Paul was thanking the Macedonians for the gifts that they had given, and he was pointing to the Corinthians that they should do the same. Not because he needed them to or because he was commanding them to, but because they said they would, and they needed to keep their commitment. But this is what he says about the Macedonians in verse 2, 2 Corinthians 8, 2. He says, "They are being tested by many troubles, and they are very poor. But they are also filled with abundant joy, which has overflowed into rich generosity." So the believers in Macedonia that Paul's talking about here, they weren't just poor, but they were extremely poor. And they were also being afflicted. They were being tested by many troubles. But Paul says that they gave with abundant joy and overflowing generosity. Now, the world expects us, our society expects us, that scarcity would create stinginess, right? If you don't have very much, you better not be given very much because you need to keep it for yourself. But the grace of God flips the script. hardship becomes a platform for joyful giving. That's a tough truth to get into our head, to wrap our heads around. But here's an application. So we may feel like, we don't have very much to give. I don't have very much. I can't give very much. But God sees your heart, not just your resources. And when you give out of joy rather than out of surplus, and most of the time, the majority of the time, dare I even say all the time, we give out of our surplus. We take care of everything that we're, all of our responsibilities, everything on the homestead, right? We take care of all of that. And if we have anything left over, we'll look at it and we'll say, well, maybe I can give that much, especially to the things of the Lord. And we give out of our surplus. But here we see that when we give out of joy, that it glorifies the Lord. And so we need to ask the Lord to give us a joyful spirit. And if we have a joyful spirit, it's going to look for opportunities to bless others, even when our resources are tight. So here's the thought for today. Your situation doesn't limit God's ability to use you. And oftentimes people use their situation as a reason why they can't do anything for the Lord. They can't give. They can't share because they don't have very much. But your situation in reality doesn't limit God's ability to use what you have. Even in affliction, even in scarcity, God's grace can turn a little into much. Remember the boy with the 5 loaves of bread and the 2 fish and what he did with that little that he had? He could have said, I don't have very much. There's no use of me doing anything with this. He had to say, I'm hungry too. I got to take care of my own, let me take care of my own appetite. And if I have any bread or fish left over, maybe I can share that. He didn't do that. He simply took what he had and he presented it to the Lord, and the Lord multiplied it, and there was plenty. When we take the little that we have and we give it to the Lord will take it and use it and multiply it, and it gives the Lord glory. And here's something else. What you have is not yours. It all belongs to the Lord. Yeah, think about that. Think about that today. And so, we need to take care of ourselves, no doubt, but don't use the excuse or the rationalization that just because you don't have very much, that the Lord can't use what you have and multiply it. What we need is the joyful spirit. All right, folks, that's all I got for today on this Tuesday. Hope you have a great Tuesday. I hope this works. I hope you can hear me. And I hope things go well for you today. And I'll see you again real soon. Bye for now.